Have you ever wondered if the radio could be more than just sound waves? If it could be a bridge? A thin thread between the living and the dead? Picture this. It's the mid-1970s. The sun has gone down. The streets are quiet, and you're lying in bed with nothing but the faint orange glow of your clock radio. The dial hums, the static hisses, and then you hear it. Your favorite late-night DJ, spinning records and taking calls. But what if one of those voices calling in wasn't alive anymore? Close your eyes and imagine the warmth of those radios back then. Heavy, boxy, with wooden panels that smell faintly of dust and polish. The glow of the dial was soft, almost like candlelight. People trusted their radios. They kept them company on lonely nights. Truckers on endless highways. Teenagers in bedrooms, hiding under the covers. Insomniacs, clinging to voices that made the dark feel less heavy. And then, as some listeners swore, came calls that didn't belong. What would you do if a voice from your past, someone long buried, suddenly spoke through the static, calling your name? In small towns across America, people began to whisper about a DJ. He was never fully named in newspapers, but listeners in the Midwest remembered him. He worked the overnight shift, the hours when the world is most fragile. His shows were ordinary at first, rock and soul records, dedications, maybe a poem or two. But then came the calls. At first, they were just strange. A woman crying softly on the line, refusing to give her name. A child laughing in a way that sent a chill through the speakers. Can a soundboard pick up ghosts? Or do we just hear what we want when the night gets too long? Some listeners wrote letters, preserved in small local archives. One woman recalled hearing her husband's voice 3 months after he'd been killed in a mining accident. He said her name. He whispered, "I never left." The DJ tried to laugh it off, but you could hear the tremble in his voice. Another man swore his deceased father called in to request an old country tune, one only the two of them had ever shared. The record was played, and in that moment, the whole audience held its breath. Think about it. Were these just pranks? Or was radio, in those years, a kind of unintentional seance? You have to understand the context. The 1970s were years of change. America was tired. Vietnam, Watergate, uncertainty everywhere. People craved connection, meaning even a whisper that their loved ones weren't really gone. Spiritualism wasn't new. Seances had been popular a century earlier. But radio was different. It felt personal. The voice on the other, and wasn't in a candlelit room. It was in your kitchen, your truck, your pillow. And when the voices came, it felt intimate in a way no ghost story ever could. What happens to us when the line between technology and faith blurs? So thin you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. The DJ himself, according to fragments of interviews, grew uneasy. He began to keep records of the strangest calls. The station manager dismissed them, said the lines crossed with other frequencies, or was just bored teenagers. But the DJ swore he knew his callers. He said their words carried weight, a silence after each sentence, as if spoken from far away. He admitted that once, late on a foggy night, he heard his own mother's voice. She had been gone for years. Would you believe it if your own blood called your name through static, or would you shut the radio off and never listen again? Listeners tuned in not just for music, but for the chance of hearing something impossible. It wasn't every night, but often enough that people remembered. One farmer recalled sitting in his truck, hearing a call from his younger brother, killed in a car crash. He told me to check the north fence, the farmer said years later. When he did, he found his cattle had broken through, wandering the field. To him, it was proof the dead still cared. The line between hoax and miracle is thinner than a radio wave. And yet, the stories faded. By the early 1980s, the calls stopped, technology changed, phone lines improved, interference decreased. The DJ left the station quietly, almost like he wanted the whispers to die with him. No tapes remain. Or if they do, they're locked away, gathering dust in some forgotten archive. What's left are only the memories, listeners who still swear, decades later, that they heard voices that could not possibly exist. What if the ghosts were never in the wires, but in us, in the grief, the longing, the endless hunger for one last goodbye. Today, it's easy to dismiss these accounts. We live in an age where recordings can be faked, where stories are spun and shared with a click. But back then, the radio was honest. It was live. If you heard something strange, you had no pause button, no replay, no proof beyond memory. That made it both fragile and powerful. To some, the radio DJ who took calls from the dead was proof that love doesn't end with silence. To others, it was just the tricks of tired minds and crackling wires. And so the question lingers, like static in the night. Did the dead really reach across the airwaves? Or was it just us, desperate for the voices we can't stop missing? If you ever felt that pull, you know, the way memory feels alive when you hear a familiar song. The way a voice can echo in your head years after it's gone. That's what radio did. It made absence feel present, even if only for a heartbeat. Maybe that's the real haunting, that we all carry our ghosts, waiting for the right frequency to let them through. Thank you for listening to this story. If it gave you chills or made you think about your own memories, I'd love for you to join this community. Like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that bring the past back to life. Even the parts that refuse to stay silent.